This Penn State basketball team is just not clutch.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. My name is Zach Seyko. I'm your host of the show. Another live show here. We talked about Penn State wrestling and Rutgers. Now we're talking about Penn State men's basketball and Iowa. This is a heartbreaker, but it's nothing out of the ordinary here, as this team is just not clutch. Countless opportunities to win games in crunch time, and they come up short once again. This is a live show, so let me know your thoughts in the live chat in the comments section. So thank you so much for spending a late Friday night here on Locked On Nittany Lions. So let's talk about it. The two differences is Penn State can't close out another game. They can't win in crunch time, and 3-point shooting. Those were the two reasons why Penn State, because Penn State was in a prime opportunity to win this game. They cut the deficit. They were down by double digits. They came back. They're within one, and they have two opportunities. I know it's a deep three, but Ace Baldwin had a wide open shot, set his feet, got his eyes on the rim, missed the opportunity. That is a difficult shot because of where it was. Okay, Penn State gets the follow-up. They get the rebound. Zach Hicks tries to put it back up, and your best pure shooter misses as well. Mid-range jumper, a little off balance. And he shot the ball too quickly. I don't think Hicks realized how much time he had. And then even Freddie DeLeon got a good look at the end of the game. And that was great play drawn up by Mike Rhodes and company on the bench. They get the ball. DeLeon, it's not enough time. There was 2.4 seconds left, but he got a good look right at the buzzer. Just didn't get the shot up with enough time. And he missed for what it's worth anyway, but the shot did not count. And Iowa goes on to win 76-75. This stings because Penn State has now, I've honestly lost count. Let's go to the schedule. So should have beaten Indiana, didn't, couldn't close it out. Should have defeated Oregon, didn't. That was a game that you definitely should have closed out. Michigan State, maybe I'm being a little too harsh here. Michigan State was a game that they were certainly in, but I think the Spartans had control. But again, you didn't really push the pace. And then Iowa, this is a game. This is another game. This is multiple games now. This isn't just one and then, okay, a couple games go by. No, this is multiple games now where Penn State really has an issue coming up clutch and closing out the game. I don't think that it's coaching. I really do think it's execution, because Penn State got a few good looks in this game where they should have won. I am going to put this one on the players. Watching the Oregon game, same thing. They had a lead. They had I think it was 8 points. I think they were leading by 8 points with about 2-3 minutes to go. Oregon came back. It was execution. They let Oregon get to the basket. They let Oregon get some easy baskets. Penn State's just whatever it is, whether it is, maybe you disagree, and it is a coaching issue. That's fine. It probably is. But I look at this game against Iowa, and you have to make your 3-pointers. You at least need to make one more. Comparatively to Iowa, Penn State was 5 of 22 from 3-point range. Iowa was 11 of 23. That's 22% versus nearly 48%. That's a really good shooting night by the Hawkeyes. So good for them, because that's a huge fourth conference victory that Penn State definitely needed. These are just games that they're winnable. The odds makers had Iowa as the favorite, but I look at Penn State as the better team. That's simply home court advantage playing a factor in that. Penn State is objectively the better team, even though they came up short here. I think that if they play this game again, the Nittany Lions certainly come out on top more often than not, but that's why you play the game once. It's just these games are the ones that Penn State absolutely needs, and they keep losing them. Especially when you get the chance to steal a game against the likes of a top 15 Oregon team, when you don't have Ace Baldwin, and you can't. So that these are just starting to pile up where these are winnable games where Penn State is the better team, but they're not closing them out. And it's not going to get easier. You're back on the road against a ranked Michigan team. Now, you do have Ohio State, Minnesota, honestly, UCLA. I thought they would be better this season, and that's out in California. So we'll see how that one plays out. But this is a winnable stretch, and the pressure just kind of continues to mount for the Nittany Lions. If you are going to be a serious postseason team, You cannot have a misstep here in this stretch. You have to go on a hot streak. You have to upset Michigan on the road. I think you can get by if you do happen to drop that one. I'm not excusing any losses, but then it's Ohio State, Minnesota, UCLA, USC, Washington, and Nebraska. Those are all winnable games where Penn State, aside from UCLA, should be favored in and should be expected to win. Then you have Minnesota again. You have a revenge game against Indiana. So it's now or never for the Nittany Lions. They need to get on a hot streak because the analytics say that this team is bound for March Madness. I've said it all along in the preseason that this team is built like a March Madness team, but they're not acting like it. March Madness teams are able to close these kinds of games out. They're just they're too close, and you're not getting the job done. You have to be able to finish. But I like that. It was competitive. It's some moral victories, right? We'll give it a moral victory. The 3-point shooting just has been Penn State's problem over the past season. They don't have anybody else that's reliable outside of Zach Hicks. And I thought Freddie DeLeon was starting to come into his own here and give Penn State at least another option. They're not really turning to the freshmen just yet. For example, Dominic Stewart played in this game, but he's one of the other reliable, at least somebody they could potentially turn to for shooting. Javin Carter as well. They say Javin Carter is objectively the best shooter, or one of the best shooters. I won't take that away from Zach Hicks, but Javin Carter is somebody else that could be a 3-point shooter. Why isn't he in the game? Just give you something, a 3-point specialist, so that Iowa doesn't key in on one specific player. Because if you watch this game for the Hawkeyes, they had multiple players. They had 5 different players. 5 different players shoot a minimum of 4 3-point attempts. For Penn State, 9. So the offense was diverse in terms of you didn't know who was going to end up with the basketball for the final possession of that set. Whereas Zach Hicks, you know that he is Penn State's best and frankly only 3-point shooter. Ace Baldwin's 1 of 4, Freddie DeLeon's 0 of 5, and that's why they gave Ace Baldwin such a cushion. Iowa said, you know what? Go for it. Take the shot at the end because we don't think we need to challenge you. We think that we are better off trying to cover a pass, take away a lane, give you a cushion so that you can't drive to the basket on us because we know how good you are at taking the lane and getting to the rim. And Iowa said, you know what? Take that shot. We'll leave you all alone. And it paid off for the Hawkeyes here. So Penn State loses another close one. They're 13-7 overall. They're 3-6 in conference. As the way that things are trending right now, this is not a team that gets to March Madness, but like I said, they can redeem themselves. They have a 6-game stretch where they should be the favorite, and those are all going to be valuable wins in Big Ten Conference play. We'll get your comments and talk about this one more on the other side of this break here on this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. And today's show is brought to you by TalkSpace. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where TalkSpace comes in. TalkSpace, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With TalkSpace, signing up is simple. You can get matched with a licensed therapist to fit your needs, usually within 48 hours, and it's convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your own home and even message your therapist in between appointments. Plus, TalkSpace is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there's a $0 copay. It has never been easier to prioritize your mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you will get $80 off your first month with TalkSpace when you go to TalkSpace.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code SPACE80 to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to TalkSpace.com/LockedOnCollege and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month. That is TalkSpace.com/LockedOnCollege, promo code SPACE80. And today's show is also brought to you by Gametime. Attending NFL playoffs is an experience like no other, whether it's the energy, the excitement, connection with other fans. It's all unmatched. And the thrill of seeing your favorite team clinch a playoff win live, it's a memory you'll never forget. This year, Gametime is making it easier to create those unforgettable moments with their new feature called Gametime Picks. Filters out all the fluff to show you only the best deals on great seats so you can focus on what really matters. Being there, being at the games. You can use the Game Time picks to grab tickets for an upcoming playoff game or any sporting event that you're looking forward to. And it couldn't have been easier. It won't be easier. You'll have the super deals that are listed at the top that will give you incredible value on those available seats. And you can preview your point of view from that specific spot before buying. So you get to see your point of view ahead of time. And all in pricing, it's a game changer. No surprise fees at checkout. And knowing that your tickets are backed by the Game Time guarantee, it will give you complete peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in for this live show to recap Penn State versus Iowa. The truth is that nobody on this team can get a bucket during a possession. Nick Kern, Ace Baldwin are not elite offensive players, but are forced to become scorers. Lacking scoring shows up late in games. I appreciate that assessment. I think that's a thorough take. That is a thorough assessment of what Penn State is dealing with. No, they don't exactly have an elite scorer. They have a lot of capable guys who certainly have specialties. I like the vision that a Nick Kern Jr. has. He is good at getting to the basket. He shot over 50% tonight. He was 7 of 13 from the field, but he is clearly not a pure shooter. I really only see him as somebody who can drive to the basket. If you need him to pull up from 3-point range, I mean, that really good luck. They need somebody else to turn into that 3-point scorer. They don't have anybody that's a specialist outside of Zach Hicks. And unless Zach Hicks if he has an off night, he was 33%. That's under his 40. I think he's shooting 42% for the season. That was under his mark. If he makes one more three, yes, Penn State wins. But if he has an off night, there's not a secondary option. Can they manufacture that secondary option at this point in time? Somebody's got to step up. And this is in the second half of the season. That's where it was good to see Miles Goodman get 11 minutes. I know he wasn't really much of an offensive factor. And I hate when teams lose, especially the teams that I cover, right, with Penn State here. But whether it's other college basketball games, NBA as well, keeping up with the pro league, when you lose a game by 1, 2, 3 points, and then, okay, go to the free throw category. These are freebies, and Penn State's missing 6 free throws. You make one more, you go 15 of 20, you tie the game. You make 2 more, you go 16 of 20, which is pretty reasonable to shoot 80% from the free throw line as a team. You win the game, 77-76. But I agree with you that, okay, why is Penn State not, I agree with that comment. Penn State is not coming up clutch in crunch time because they don't have that scorer that can take over games. That is supposed to be Ace Baldwin. Ace Baldwin's supposed to be that guy. And I think he's good offensively. I think he's one of your better offensive players. Ace Baldwin hasn't taken a step back. I think he is dealing with, whether it's the back injury or what Mike Rhodes described as a multitude of different things. He's dealing with a couple different other things in addition to what we know from the Illinois game where he sustained that back injury. This is not the same Ace Baldwin. I would take the Ace Baldwin from last year as opposed to this year. And this was supposed to be the best version of Ace Baldwin that we have seen when he's 100%. He's clearly not 100%. 40 minutes. He's 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3-point range, and he finishes with 7 points. That's not the Ace Baldwin we know. And it's why Penn State isn't winning these close games, because they're the star player. This is the face of the team. Has not been able to will them to victory at times. He missed the game-winning shot. He decided to take that. He was left all alone. Could have dribbled, could have passed. Instead, I'm going to take this 3-point shot. That's why I think it's execution. I think that, don't get me wrong, the coaches, obviously, everybody, there's always room for improvement everywhere. I say that about whether it's Penn State football, Penn State wrestling, and there's not a lot of improvement needed there, or Penn State basketball in this case. And I'm looking around, I'm going to put it on the players, but the coaches, there's certainly room for improvement, because if you know that, okay, you're lacking 3-point shooting, you know that you have your weaknesses here, what are the other things that you can do to manufacture some more points for this team? You take 22 3-point attempts and you only make 5 of them. if you're not a consistent, if you're not a good 3-point shooting team, why are you taking 22 3-pointers? So it's on the players, but it's also on the coaches. There is no reason that this Penn State team should be taking as many 3-pointers as it is. I get it. Push the pace. You got to match Iowa to an extent. Iowa shot 23 3-pointers. Penn State shot 22. But this is not their strength, and it cost them the game. They have to be able to make those. You can point to the free throws. I say it's glaring when Iowa shoots nearly 50% from 3-point range and Penn State shoots 22. They shot almost 50% from the field, purely. So Penn State's better at getting to the basket. I'm not going to take Ace Baldwin in a 3-point shooting contest. I'm certainly not going to take Nick Kern Jr. in a 3-point shooting contest. But I would take them driving to the basket, creating their own mid-range shot. That's what they're good at. And Penn State likes to push the pace. So they can learn from this. Mike Rhodes and company, this is a good staff. They will look at this and say, okay, this is what we need to do differently. But they have to move away from the 3-point shots. Aside from Zach Hicks, you can use Ace Baldwin and Nick Kern Jr. to drive into the lane and then kick out. You also have Yannick Conan Niederhauser. Iowa doesn't have some, and it showed up. It showed he had 13 points. But I feel like you have to find a way, especially when you have that size advantage that Penn State has not had on a basketball team in quite some time. A legitimate 5 in Big Ten conference play, and you're not maximizing him. This is a fast-paced Iowa team, so I understand. But his point per minute, he almost had more points than he played minutes. 13 points to 14 minutes. He was averaging nearly 1 point per minute played. But obviously, as a 7-foot basketball player, he's not going to be able to go with that tempo. So that's where Iowa's just a fast-paced team. And so is Penn State. They're 2 of the faster teams in the entire country. So it makes sense given the matchup. But you don't have to go fast. You're not required to. Just because Iowa likes to push the pace and they run quick possessions, you can slow it down and give your offense time to set. Honestly, do something different that's probably going to try to throw off Iowa in this game. So hindsight's 2020 when we're recapping this, from that team's trying to make adjustments on the floor and stuff. I get staying true to your identity. It's not working at the moment. They got to find a way. They have a chance to redeem themselves. Like I said, they're not far off. That's what's so disappointing about all of this, is they're right there. Other than that ugly one against Illinois again, Puff Johnson's out of that game. Ace Baldwin gets hurt early in the game. This is not a bad Penn State team, just disappointing at the end of the day. If you could flip this game or the Oregon game, things are completely different, and Penn State's kind of in control of its own destiny, but now they're fighting an uphill battle with Michigan, Ohio State, Minnesota, UCLA, USC, and Washington, Nebraska. Those are all extremely winnable games. I don't look at that one and say, Penn State doesn't have a chance. That's how I viewed maybe the game against Michigan State, where it's, Spartans are probably going to win this one pretty comfortably. These other ones, I say that Penn State, this is either a toss-up or I expect Penn State to win this game decisively. That's going to do it here on this live reaction to Penn State men's basketball losing 76-75 against Iowa on the road. Thank you so much for hanging out here on this live show. If you are new to the channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for letting us know your thoughts down in the comments section as well. Oh, we got one more. Let's sneak this last one in. Why don't we ever call a timeout on the last possession? They did. They did call a timeout. They got the rebound, and then they set up the play to Freddie DeLeon, and then he didn't score. So they did use a timeout in that final moment. So we're gonna take a permanent timeout to end the show here. My name is Zach Seyko. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. And we talk about everything here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Penn State football, Penn State wrestling, Penn State basketball, conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams, all right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.